Hey everyone, welcome to Tapestry of Time. This is Matt here, and today we're going to have a brief look about the Berlin Wall and many ingenious and ridiculous escape attempts that happened under and over it, and of course through it. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started.
Midnight, August 12 to 13, 1961. Thousands of East German soldiers secure the border between East and West Germany. Construction workers load rolls of barbed wire across the border. From this time on, nobody could trespass the border. So how did Berlin grow to this monstrosity? How did the capital of such a large nation be divided by physical barrier? Well, all of this started at the end of World War II.
Russians drive for Berlin.
At the end of the war, after Germany had surrendered to the Allies, the four largest victorious powers, namely the US, the Soviet Union, aka the USSR, the British Empire, and France, they split Germany into four occupation zones, as shown in this map. And as you can see here, although the capital Berlin falls entirely inside the Soviet sector, it was divided into four sectors. As the three Western powers merged their sectors into a single West Germany, it created an enclave of West Germany in East Germany.
So right from the beginning, the Soviet leader, Joseph Stalin, wished to prevent people in East Germany from exiting the Soviet sector of occupation.
And he also wished to exploit the resources in his sector. Hence, he ordered the construction of a barrier dividing East and West Germany.
The Berlin Wall also had a lot of defensive facilities such as automatically firing guns, mines, patrol towers, patrol dogs, and underground bunkers. So this barrier was extremely difficult and not impossible to pass.
Yet, remember Berlin? There's no border there. To escape to the west, all one had to do is to walk to the other side of the city, like cross the road, and travel via planes or railways to West Germany or the Western countries.
More freedom, more job and new education opportunities, and more consumer goods. More than 4 million people have emigrated to the west before the construction of the Berlin Wall. To make matters worse, a large portion of these escapees are talented intellectuals, students, professors, researchers, basically people who you don't want to miss in your economy. So, in other words, East Germany was suffering from literal brain drain.
In 1961, Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev decided that everything now had to change. He wanted the intellectuals to stay in East Germany instead of fleeing to the Western world. So he came up with the perfect idea. Yep, that idea is building a physical wall.
And I think this kind of resonated with Winston Churchill's 1946 Iron Curtain speech.
From Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic, an iron curtain has descended across the continent.
As the wall started to rise, separating families, friends, and colleagues, this raised many questions among the victims of the walls. How long would the wall last? Was it just temporary? And is it just a cover of a larger, more ambitious project? And most importantly of all, how are they going to see their loved ones? About 5,000 people successfully traversed the Berlin Wall, A large portion of this population escaped via the underground. To learn more about this way of traveling, I came to the Berliner Unterwelten, an association that gives tours of the Berlin Underground and allows us to actually see and go into the underground tunnels. At first, many escapees traveled via sewer systems. This was employed primarily by students who wanted to help their friends escape. So at first, not even the secret police of East Germany knew about this plot. However, over time, this became less successful as the information was leaked. With infrared cameras, regular flooding times in the sewers, and metal frames to obstruct the path,
Fewer and fewer people climbed through the sewer systems to freedom.
a more daring way of climbing through the underground is through subway stations. As you can see, in East Berlin there is a part called the nose, and through the nose there are 3 subway U-Bahn lines.
This included some ghost stations, where the West Berlin trains stop at but do not pass. Now, although the doors of these stations are hammered shut and included like guards and bunkers and guns and all that stuff you don't want to find, so there are some emergency exits in these stations that were accidentally left open. And of course, the guards need somewhere to go in and out.
Some escapees, having stumbled upon one of these, would sneak into these stations and jump onto the trains for a ride to freedom. This, however, soon became impossible. The East German police, seeing this trend, added unevenly spaced and heighted spikes on the rails, not high enough to scratch on the trains and damage them, but high enough to poke holes in the escapees' feet. Fully armed guards also patrol the area. On the rail, the power supply rail, which is a third rail, with very high currents passing through them, is also deprived of its former insulator coatings, electrocuting anyone who dares to touch it. Now, the wall has stood for 1, 2, 3 years. President Kennedy has declared
2,000 years ago, the proudest post was Civis Romanus Sum. Today, in the world of freedom, the proudest boast is Ich bin ein Berliner.
and the wall still stood. It seemed like the wall was not going to fall anytime soon. It wasn't. And now, people started to take fate into their own hands and escape by force. One group of students from the Freie University decided to escape by themselves. That's right, they decided to build their own underground tunnel.
Digging tunnels under the Berlin Wall wasn't like a very new concept. For this group, there were smaller, successful attempts to escape under the Berlin Wall by digging tunnels. However, this project was a lot larger, a lot more complicated and ambitious, with a lot more people to save. So, the group basically finished building their tunnel, and their guests started arriving. 1, 2, 3, nice. The first night went completely unnoticed and successful. However, the second night was a little more active and sketchy. As the conspirators climbed out of the tunnel, they were greeted by 2 undercover Stasi guards who, claiming to want to escape with another friend with them, fetched a group of border guards. Now and then a firefight occurred. One of the conspirators, Christian, shot a guard in the shoulder. The guard, while trying to stand back up, was fatally wounded by friendly fire. The guard who died, Egon Schultz, was named a martyr of fascist agents who went undercover to East Germany in order to cause chaos and mayhem there. In the end, 57 people escaped from the west to the east. 55 in the first night, and 2 in the second night. This is Tunnel 57.
Wolfgang Angels was another extremely famous escapee of the Berlin Wall. His plan wasn't precisely well planned, but it was extremely daring. As a civilian soldier of the GDR or East German Army, Wolfgang had a rich experience driving armored vehicles like tanks and those stuff you see in the army. So one day, Wolfgang stole a tank from the army. Now, it sounded like a big deal, but as a soldier, he faced no obstacles for guards who were used to seeing soldiers drive tanks in the streets. As he approached the border, however, he gunned up the engine and crashed straight into the Berlin Wall, landing in the American sector. Although he was shot twice, he received minimal injuries from the wounds.
Now let's travel to a pretty ridiculous but still very ingenious escape attempt.
Yeah, straight from the movies. In early 1979, two mechanic friends, Hans-Peter Straussig and Gunter Wetzel, were watching a technology-themed television show together about the history of planes and hot balloons. Suddenly, the show inspired them. They suddenly thought of the way to escape to West Berlin. That's right, they built their own hot balloon. Using their expertise in engineering and homemade materials like bed sheets and raincoats and those pieces of fabric, they assembled a working hot air balloon. It wasn't very professional, but it worked. The balloon flew over everybody's heads in East Germany. As a massive flying object, guards could see the balloon very clearly, but they were helpless to stop it from proceeding forward. Finally, after a 13-minute flight, the families landed in East Germany, safe and sound.
Hey everyone, thanks for finishing this video. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to smash that like button below. And if you want more like this, you can click the subscribe button over there. Again, thanks for finishing this video. This is Tapestry of Time and Matthew, and see you next time.